Are there any other, significant drivers that are tipping the electronification of FX from your perspective?
The implementation of MiFID II will probably be a good driver to support this trend of electronification. Otherwise, I think that that counter drivers for regulation would be the various elections that we see in Europe, and the possibility that people the single states will not adopt, let's say, FRTB, and will decide not to implement it. And this trend of deregulation may impact the trading, and God knows, maybe even the single currency is at risk now. We're not sure that by the end of, let's say, 2017, all countries will use the euro, given the elections in France, in Germany, the crisis in Greece, etc.
But let's dive into that a little bit more, right? Because obviously you're speaking on the broad trend of globalization, and having kind of a single benchmark regulatory regime, and we've seen that this potential retrenchment given the geopolitical landscape. But the question is, if we look at cross-border issues, they've really kind of seen a significant retractment. So over the past couple of years, so is this a bigger issue at this point in time, given the way that the money's flowing, or is it more, at the top level? Is it a top level concern, but the markets have already adjusted based on the cross-border issues?
Well, that's a very broad question. So we see some things, for instance, in that respect, and let's take the regulatory point. So, for instance, it seems that CCPs have been well, I guess, digested by the financial community. Therefore, I guess over 80% of the trades that should be cleared centrally are actually cleared centrally. So that's one thing. And now we see, at least in Europe, we see more people asking for solutions for SIM, so for the margining of non-centrally cleared trades. So this seems to become a widespread, and I'd say consensus in the respect, this, I guess, because this is a regulation which is also good for the banks. I guess that's the way they perceive it. Of course, it comes, with requirements now to see MVA becomes like the most important valuation adjustment. As to other regulations, like, we mentioned, PRIPS kids or FRTB. So PRIPS kids has to be approved by the European Parliament, or else it will be postponed again. FRTB seems now, the latest, it seems that it's going to be postponed again, because there doesn't seem to be a consensus. So we do see the implications of, let's call it, the political changes and trends on regulation, and and the impact of that is, of course, on the markets. I don't think that the trend of electronification would be reversed, because I think it's also in the interest of banks to get that, because it makes them more efficient and gives them a better return.
One final question. Obviously you are our FX expert. We've talked many times around negative rates. We still have many countries negative at this point, but obviously the U.S. now is a rising rate environment, even a little bit more aggressive. What's your outlook on the market?
Interestingly, given you would expect the dollar to strengthen against most currencies, and actually the trend is not that way. I think that now the market so far, since the election of Mr. Trump, has been pricing, deregulation, lower corporate taxes, lower income tax, and so forth. And now it's time to deliver. So, they say buy on rumor, sell on fact. This is pretty much what we see now. And also, if you look, I always tell you when we do these blogs that I look at the 10 years note, and it has been kind of trying to break the 260 2.6 annual yield, and it doesn't manage to go there. It always retreats. So I think now this is really this is the key. We've kind of reached the critical point, because if the new healthcare reform doesn't go through, that means that the deregulation and the new, let's call it, tax policy will not go through in 2017. And I think that the market is now starting to price that, and as a result, the dollar is weakening against the other G7 currencies like euro, like yen, etc., but also against emerging markets. And we see, let's say the comeback of the Russian ruble and so on. So yeah, I think we will get towards the summer. At least in Q2, we'll see higher volatility in the FX market.
Excellent. Well, Udi, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you here and get your insights on what's going on in the world of FX. And of course, if you have any questions, please hit us up on Twitter at NX Analytics or on LinkedIn, and stay in tune on all of the topics that we talk about here at Numerix.